Hello and welcome to 134th session of Talk to the Expert series organized by Spectrum, the Awareness Project team. Hi, my name is Shivali and I shall be your host for this evening. With me is Sri Lakshmi, who is the sign language interpreter from Association of Sign Language Interpreters of India, our partner in making conversation accessible for all. Good evening, Sri Lakshmi. In the month of May, our awareness ambassador, Dr. Anjana Panch, who is also a certified art therapist and emotional well-being coach, had asked you your mindfulness mantra. And before we start today's session, we would like to extend our gratitude to all those who took out time to reflect upon and shared what works for them. We are confident that your mindfulness mantra will inspire many, many more to look after themselves. A couple of days ago, we invited your response on a poll. What are the areas that you would like us to cover in the upcoming Talk to the Expert series, Life Coach Special Sessions? And we were very, very happy to receive the responses from all our members here. Approximately about 58 to 60 people participated in the poll. And the area which came out very prominently, wherein people, we all need the support or we would like to know more about, one was emotional regulation, which around 32% of people wanted to know how to regulate their emotions. About 23% people wanted to know how to manage uncertainties. About 13% of us want to know how to improve our relationships. About 25% want to know how to navigate through life's transitions and how to offer emotional support to others. About 6% of people wanted to know. And 1% also wants to know how to create lifelong support systems. So thank you once again for sharing your thoughts with us. This will help us design these conversations and we will all together navigate our way to develop emotional resilience. As promised, this month of May, we will invite life coaches who will share some useful tips with us. And, so that we can keep some of these tips handy for ourselves. We have with us one such life coach. He is the one who has written two self-help books. One, How to Unleash Your True Potential. Second, Finding the Magic in You. He's also a certified emotional intelligence life coach and has coached more than 1,000 people across the globe. So please join me in welcoming life coach Shivam. Hi, Shivam. Welcome. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shivali, for having me. And it's really my pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So let's jump into the conversation straight, Shivam. Though we know that you're a published author and a very well celebrated one, you're an Instagram craze is what I know for sure, but would like to know from you more about your work. Please tell our audience what do you do?
Right. So I am an author and a life coach today, but I was initially, and before this, I was an aerospace engineer and assistant professor and a researcher in aerospace engineering, where I used to work with airplanes and aircraft to develop it and work around those areas. Currently, I write books. I help people understand their emotions better, help them navigate their emotions better, and help them understand how to understand and work around certain beliefs, certain emotions to be able to manage them and work around it.
Okay, all right. So they were very crisp, Shivam. So from engineering to becoming a life coach, uh, how did you manage this transition yourself? So tell us a little more about that, please.
Right. Engineering teaches you to be curious about things, right? And that curiosity somewhere also took me to understanding and maybe learning more about curiosity of our mind, our emotions, our behavior, our psychology. And that's what I started to read more about, learn more about, and eventually publish and write and basically teach about as well. So currently, that curiosity of knowing more about yourself led me to here what I am today.
Okay. I think you're a man of very few words, and that is helping Sri Lakshmi big time because she doesn't have to do too much of the work around it. But thank you, Sri Lakshmi, for joining us tonight for this session, making it accessible for all. Shivam, what are your thoughts on the scenario about mental health? Pre-COVID, I think there was not so much acceptance, but post-COVID, things have become more. I think the level of acceptance for mental health related issues have increased. So, what is your take on this scenario, and especially around workplace? If you can throw some light there.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very true thing, and it's a really good thing that we're actually talking about mental health and mental health awareness today, because that gives us the understanding to understand others' emotions, as well as the willingness to work on our emotions and our problems as well. So it's a wonderful thing that we're actually there yet. A long way to go, but it's a good start. Talking about mental health at workplace, I think there's something that often happens in workplace, especially in a country like India, where there's so much competition everywhere, right? And that is often the biggest hurdle towards creating a healthy workspace. And not only in workspace, also relationships, also the way you deal with things. Because when there is competition, there's a very small and very less room for empathy. And that is, I feel, is missing a lot in the current generation, the current mental, in the current workplace as well. So I think the first step towards creating a better mental wellness and a better mental health space for workplace would be to create and work around how to develop empathic leaders, and also to develop how to communicate better at workplace. Because when you're actually feeling that sense of empathy, understanding, and kindness, it allows you to actually work around those particular things, to be able to communicate about your emotions, and also understand and work around the things that people are also dealing with, and then create a healthy environment for everyone.
I think a point very beautifully explained that we need to work on developing those human values in our corporate again, because somewhere we became very mechanical, uh,
Yes.
very productivity oriented, very balance sheet focused, and now we
Mm,
need to bring
mm,
that human
mm.
touch again to our leaders.
Yes.
Uh, I would request you to be slightly more elaborate because let me give a little brief about this group and the work that we are doing here.
Mm,
We are creating awareness in the community about what could be their role when it comes to supporting parents of children with special needs or with different needs.
mm,
Like I mentioned that, and it was your suggestion. Thank you so much for asking us to come up with a poll wherein we ask the people what is that they would like to know. And that takes me to the next question. You have seen the responses, and I had already mentioned in the beginning that there are two major areas of concern, or I would say areas of focus that our team members want us you to talk about is managing life transitions and emotional regulation. So your views about that, please.
when you talk about emotional regulation and emotional management, I think the very first step is always emotional awareness. Because many times what we generally do is we try to label emotions as positive emotions or negative emotions. And the moment we start labeling them as positive or negative emotions, it kind of becomes a struggle, because we want to attach too much to the positive emotions and we want to run away from the negative emotions. And the moment we do so, we start actually ignoring the things which are much more important for our body and for the brain as well. And this is a very, very important thing for us to understand, that negative emotions are actually much more important for you than positive emotions. For your brain and for your body, your brain actually takes care of the negative emotions more than the positive emotions. And the moment you run away from those things, they do not just go away, they pile up. And the moment they get piled up, they get accumulated into different various forms, which kind of becomes very unhealthy for us as well. So, the very first step would be to understand, be aware of those emotions and find ways to manage them. But how do we really manage them? Because those negative emotions are really unpleasant as well. It does not feel good to actually feel and process those emotions. So, the very first thing would be to understand that they are not actually trying to cause you harm. The negative emotions are never the problem. The reaction to those negative emotions can be the problem. That means when you're angry, anger is never the problem. Your reaction onto that anger can be the problem. When you throw things, when you shout at people, when you're breaking up relationships because of that anger, that could be the problem. Anger is never the problem. Anger is trying to tell you that some of your boundaries may have been violated, that certain things had been come up in your life, and that is something that is your brain trying to tell you that. The moment you choose to ignore that, it becomes a problem. So the first step, let's not run away from negative emotions. But when that emotion comes up, how do we really deal with that? Certain techniques really help in those particular order. One of the very few techniques is actually deep breathing. Because the moment you take some good deep breaths, you allow your body and your brain to come in sync with each other. And you also calm your nervous system as well. The moment your nervous system gets calm and relaxed, it will allow you to deal with that particular situation in a much, much beautiful manner and then respond to that emotion rather than reacting emotionally, reacting impulsively to that particular emotion. So that particular thing definitely helps a lot with emotional regulation, understanding your body, understanding your breath, understanding how your mind and body operates in different situations. That is a really wonderful way to do. And the second thing about navigating through difficult life transient situations when things are actually changing. Here's one thing I want you to know about anxiety. One very important thing, that anxiety roots from uncertainty. That means when you're actually transitioning from one space to another, it actually brings you at a particular space when you do not really know what is going to happen with you. You do not have the confidence, you do not have the awareness, you do not have the right resources to even know what is in your control and what is not. And in that particular case, anxiety is very natural. But the more you feed onto the things that are out of your control, the anxiety will actually keep on piling up and it will become a big problem. But the more you focus on the things that is in your control, it will allow you to calm down, to relax, and to deal with that particular situation or that moment in a very beautiful manner as well. So I think the very important thing would be to focus on the things that can be your control rather than focusing too much on what is not in your control. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say that I have given an interview for a job and I know that my result for that job interview will only come after 1 week. Now, there are two ways I can go about this particular situation. Either I'll keep thinking for the next 1 week what is going to happen and what is not. But even if I do that all week long, the result will still not change. The result is still going to be the same, which is not in my control. But in those 7 days, I would be frustrated, irritated, stressed out, and that will come out to my relationships as well. Or either way, I could just go out, talk to people, apply for more jobs, cook, clean, do whatever I want so that I can focus on the thing that is in my control. So that will actually help me to reduce the anxiety, be functional, and to be able to feel comfortable with my emotions rather than focusing too much on what will happen after 7 days. So that understanding really, really helps a lot.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's very beautifully explained. And I'm hoping those who are watching, they can, find their own ways because each solution would be different for each person. It's a unique solution to each individual because our circumstances are different. The way that we respond to situations are very different. So, Shivam, one very personal question I would, and I'm not being gender biased here, but that is what I believe that how men and women respond to stresses are very different. And the way that we respond to them, our coping mechanisms are very different from each other. So, what are your thoughts about men and mental health? Because this month of June, while we will be celebrating Father's Day, and this is one relation that we must celebrate every day, not just on one specific day, but then we're very concerned about the mental health of the men in our lives. So, what are your thoughts in terms of what stops them from regulating their emotions or expressing themselves well, and what can they do about it?
Right. So that's a very beautiful question and a very important one as well. And that reminds me of a quote that I read certain few days back that says that a lot of people would be happy to see a man die on the top of a horse rather than watching him fall off, which exactly focuses upon how and what exactly do we expect out of men in the current generation and out of the society as well. Because many times what really happens is that we have not given men that option or that place to be able to talk about their emotions, to be able to be vulnerable with their emotions. Like you exactly rightly said, that women have a different way of processing and coping with their emotions. But when it comes to men, if they start to try to express their emotions and talk about their emotions, majority of the society is going to judge them, laugh at them, mock them, or even ridicule them for acting not manly enough. And I think that is the very first thing that needs to be changed. And the change will happen from the grassroots level, from our families, from our societies, and from every place we are in, exactly, organizational level as well. So the very first thing, we should allow the men to be able to talk about their emotions rather than ridiculing them for not being strong enough. And secondly, allowing them to actually process their emotions better and understand them as well. Because a lot of research has actually said that as well, that women are very emotionally aware when it comes to their emotions, but men are not emotionally aware at all about various emotions. And in those cases, what really happens is that most of their primary emotions like happiness, sadness, grief, they tend to convert into secondary emotions like anger, pride, ego, other things like that. That means men do not have the emotional vocabulary, capability, or the understanding to even understand and be aware of those emotions in the first place. I think that is the very first thing we should start off with, to be able to help men in our lives to understand their emotions better. Okay, this is what you're really feeling. You're not really angry right now, you're sad right now. So that understanding will also allow them to work and navigate through that emotion from a better perspective rather than jumping onto that extreme perspective of flushing it out through a difficult or strong emotion. So that understanding is very important. And like I mentioned, that change has to happen from grassroots level, where we give them that option to express, to be able to talk about certain things, and to be able to process their emotions in a better way.
Wow, that's a very, very powerful way to explain, and I'm sure people would be able to find their ways difference between the primary emotion and the secondary emotion, and understanding themselves better. So we have Rashmi Sood, who herself is a life coach, a parent coach, and she agrees with you completely. She says wonderful tips, Shivam. And she further says that men, I believe, are conditioned to be strong and not to express, which builds up. Now, what you
True.
were saying about, the judgment that we have around men in expressing themselves, she completely agreed with what you say, and she says that how we raise our boys is very, very important. So yeah, that's what I believe our viewers who are watching it now, or those who will watch it later, would agree with what you're saying. And I would request all the viewers, at any point in time that you feel you would want to ask Shivam any questions, please leave it in the comment section in this particular video, and he will definitely respond to the questions. Um, Shivam, moving on next, we talk a lot about diversity and inclusion. Mostly it is spoken at the workplace. When there are HR policies that you have to practice. Sometimes we have heard from our parents who have children or young adults who are working in corporates that it sometimes become only a checklist item. It doesn't remain, it doesn't come to practice. It doesn't become a reality. So, what are your thoughts about diversity and inclusion, and how can one practice it at workplace or anywhere that we are?
Right. I think it's again a very important question and a very important one as well. Because when talk about diversity and inclusion, the very biggest hindrance to that is the lack of awareness about where does it really come from. Because, like I mentioned, the very first question part as well, that India is a very competitive country in everywhere, right from the very first day when a child is born as well. There is huge competition about what the child is doing, what the child is not doing, when the child is speaking, when the child is not speaking, how the child is looking, how the child is not looking. When the child goes to school, the competition increases again, and everywhere else. There's a very competitive world we are in, ideally. And when it comes to competitiveness, we do not wait, we do not have the time to actually think about what the other person could be going through or could be feeling as well. That empathy is missing. And that empathy can be raised up, can be built up by creating awareness about different diversity, different scope of things, so that they can understand, that they can manage it better as well. But how do we really do that? And that for that to happen, I think what you're doing right now, and that you're doing a great initiative for that matter to be able to help people become aware about it. And so are so many other different beautiful organizations as well. I think that step has to be started so that people in general as well understand what exactly diversity and inclusion really means. It's very easy to ridicule something, it's very easy to hate something when you don't understand something. And that is exactly what happens in society today. When someone doesn't have a clarity or understanding about different scope of people, different scope of kids, different scope of things that people go through, it's very naturally for them to laugh at it, hate it, or even ridicule it because it does not come naturally to them. But the moment that understanding comes up, the struggles come up, the point of understanding or getting connected with it comes up, it gives them the perspective to think about it, process it, and deal with it in a better manner. Because the problem is never kindness. Humans always find a reason to be kind, but you must give them a reason. And that reason currently, I feel, is a lack of understanding. So I feel we like what you're currently doing. Government should also try to properly work on certain initiatives, certain things, and we as the general person, people as well, because many times we also shy away from explaining or talking to them about it, and that is where our part also comes into the picture. Rather than shying away to talk about it, because we would rather say that let's just ignore it. I mean, who will? Why bother trying to explain them? Why bother trying to invest our energy into make them understand what is really happening and what is not? We should also try to take small initiatives to help people be aware about what really is happening rather than just trying to shy away from it. Because the more the society knows, the better will be the empathy. And I think that will bring a great change in the society as well.
Wow. So I think the word that I love most in this entire conversation is give them a reason to be kind.
Mm.
And because we naturally or originally, our original form of being human is that's the
Yes.
value that we all carry is being kind. So I think that's a very, very beautiful one there. Before we move forward, I would like to thank my dear friend Shweta Malhotra for connecting us with Shivam. So thank you to her and to you, Shivam, for taking our request to come here. Before we move on to the last question, which I have for you, I'd like you to talk about the two of your books because, and you mentioned that you're working on some other books also. So please do tell us about them and do also share the link in the comment section later so people can pick up the book and read. Please tell us about both your books.
The first book is called How to Unleash Your True Potential, and the second one is Finding the Magic in You. So the first book, How to Unleash Your True Potential, is exactly about understanding yourself and then pushing yourself to get out of your comfort zone, to be able to do things which you're not able to do because of lack of understanding about yourself, about your emotions, about your comfort zone as well. The second book, Finding the Magic in You, is all about understanding where you are currently standing right now and then trying to love or accept that particular part, because many times we are so much in resentment, so much in hate, so much in denial of where we're exactly standing. We're constantly trying to run away from ourselves, which makes the entire battle even more difficult for us, because the more we try to run away from that, the more difficult it becomes for us to actually move away from that. So that Finding the Magic in You is actually about loving where you are today, to accept and understand yourself better, and that has a lot of worksheets in the book as well to be able to help them understand themselves better. The third one I'm writing currently, that is on emotional intelligence. The title is not yet decided, but hopefully soon I'll finish that.
That's the, emotional intelligence is a topic very close to my heart too. And I would request all the viewers to, whenever that you want to start working on yourself, pick up one such book that Shivam has written, something which has worksheets. It allows you to keep a track of what is happening, how are you responding, uh, could you choose a different response? So those self-help books really come handy when you really want to work. So, and there is right time for every flower to bloom. So whenever it is your time, do find something for yourself and just pick up. Mm, Each day is a new beginning, and we can start from tomorrow. So wonderful. That brings me to the last question, Shivam, and I would request you to be a little more elaborate because I realize while you write books, you speak very few words. Yeah. So, what message would you like to give as a life coach, as an emotional intelligence coach to people uh, to take care of themselves? So, when I'm asking you this question, my focus is actually on the caregivers. I've explained you the scenario here, the reason why we are doing this particular project. The idea is to sensitize the community, one end, that what it means to raise a child on spectrum, what it means to be on spectrum. We have youngsters who come and share their journeys. Self advocacy, we encourage big time. We have parents who come and share their journey, and uh, I think with each session we become more evolved because we know we can choose a more uh, knowledgeable response, a more aware response, a more conscious response. The other aspect is about caregivers. Caregivers stress or the burnout is very real, and when we are not aware as a community, we don't know what it means to be a caregiver 24/7, 365. So, what would you like to give your ending note to people, to all the parents about their self care?
Right. That's a very important thing that we should be actually talking about right now. Like I mentioned before, when we're stuck up in an environment where there's a lot of uncertainty looming around us, we naturally tend to feel anxious way more than often. Because while we try to focus on the things we can control, or while we try to control the things which should be in our control, we feel helpless and we start to feel anxious about it. And as a caregiver of a child who's in spectrum, it often becomes very difficult because while you see other people trying to navigate through the life in a different way altogether, trying to find certainties in the development of their kids, you cannot necessarily always find that in the same domain. There would be certainty in different other areas of things, but since it is not so generalized, not everyone will be talking about it. You might feel helpless and you might feel aloof in that particular process. And while you feel aloof, anxiety also comes up with it. So the very first thing that you need to understand here, that while other people are actually finding certainty in something else, it doesn't always necessarily mean that you need to also find certainty in the same areas to be able to feel confident, to be able to love your child as well. Because that's what society has actually drawn the line. But you know what it takes to really love a child, what it really takes to actually grow someone, to build someone who has so many beautiful special skills as well. And that is a difficult part initially because you do not have a paved path for yourself, because that is something you'll have to create by yourself, which becomes challenging, which becomes a very difficult process at times. But the more you are in touch with yourself, with the things that you're doing for yourself, for your kids as well, it gives you more confidence and to be able to build from there. So rather than looking at other people and what exactly the path they are following, try to be more in touch with your gut and try to understand what is the path I am trying to build for my child and for myself as well. So that's the very first step. That trying to find a certainty and clarity in what you want to do rather than what others are trying to do. And second thing, being a caregiver by itself is a very stressful job because you have to be constantly present and constantly available for the child. But it doesn't really mean that you do not have any needs either. You are a human being. That means you are going to have needs, which means you will need some occasional break, some occasional stop, some occasional things that you can do for yourself as well. And that could be a small thing like going to the gym, going for a walk, cooking something good for yourself, having a good balanced meal and diet as well. That allows you to actually focus on your body, which somehow also works on helping you grow your mind as well. Because many times when you're too much involved in the process of caring for someone, we start forgetting caring about ourselves. And by that, I mean, stop caring for our physical and emotional needs as well, which starts to show up because the moment your body and your brain sees a change in the pattern about what was happening before and what is happening right now, it starts to feel panic because of it. And stress naturally develops from that. So it's very, very important for you actually to be able to take good care for yourself by actually eating the right things, by actually working out, by doing the right things. I know it's easy for me to say, and it won't be so easy to actually implement that all the time. But trying to prioritize your health as much as you're caring for someone else will be a life-changing thing for you as for the people you're caring for as well. Because that gives you the confidence to actually feel good for yourself and also allow yourself to bring in that kindness, bring in that empathy to the other person you're caring for as well. So it's a very beautiful thing, a very important thing that you're doing right now. And to be able to actually work on yourself would actually be an icing on the cake.
Wow, you explained it so beautifully, icing on the cake, and that's a pretty beautiful visual to see also. So yeah, I think so. Rashmi says again, it's a very insightful discussion, and I'm sure that we will all take a lot of insights and takeaways from this session. So before we move on and we bid goodbye to Shivam, I would like to tell the audience, those who are watching us now, that June we've started with one campaign. It is called the Jar of June, which is about extending gratitude. Extending gratitude heals both the receiver and the giver. So keep sharing and keep expressing your gratitude, your shukrana to the universe. Also, June is also the month for Father's Day. Our parents, like I was discussing with Shivam, are the reason that we should celebrate them each day. But third Sunday of June is observed as Father's Day. And on this occasion, your host and host Divya will be coming with the fifth edition of the Poetry Reading Club. So do write a poem as your tribute to your dad in about 100 words and share it with us. We encourage your expression in your mother language. So don't hold your emotions like Shivam was telling, that you need to identify your emotions and express them well, pen them down and share with us. We all know that how expression empowers. Also, I would like to tell that for 2025, we're working on one quote a day, 365 unique quotes on inclusion. So you can write what you think inclusion means to you in about 30 words and share it with us. We will be coming up with this calendar next year. So we all want to see as many people as there, but a minimum of 365. So please do write what you think inclusion means to you. And this is extended to you also, Shivam. You also write what inclusion means to you and be part of this quote calendar. So I would request everybody, those who are watching us, that make most of these activities to express your emotions. And please remember that this is your safe space where you would not be judged for anything that you want to share with us. Let your expression empower you. And on this note, I would like to thank Shivam and Sri Lakshmi for coming together and sharing the insights with us, Shivam, so beautifully, very candidly, very crisp also. And Sri Lakshmi, for your energy and for all your effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah. It was lovely meeting you once again, Shivam. And to the audience, we will be meeting some more life coaches. So, whatever that you want to share with us, do write to us and we will try to address that. Thank you and do look after yourself. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you. Bye bye.